What up, everyone? Welcome to episode 4 of the SportsTalk with Duey podcast. Today, we're going to give the NBA mock draft preview, and I have a special guest today, writer for Penn State basketball, my brother, my good friend, Justin Segal.
Duey, it's definitely an honor to be on this podcast, and it took a few episodes, but here we are talking NBA.
Yeah,
NBA,
had to wait for the mock draft.
yeah,
So, ha- this draft is probably known as it's probably the worst draft in our lifetimes. Not really any
yeah,
star talent at the top, but I feel like in the current environment of the NBA, role players are becoming more and more important, and defense is becoming more and more important. So I think the theme of this draft is um, trying to find good defensive players, and that's like the
yeah.
common theme of the
I think
best
so too.
players in the draft.
Like one thing that I found, like especially in this draft, but a lot since like the G League Ignite has taken a lot of these top prospects, is that like a lot of these guys in the top 10 of like the consensus NBA draft boards haven't played in college. So like it's a lot of like foreign and overseas guys. And then you have two guys with Buzelis and Holland coming from the G League, and it's kind of been like a theme. Like also we saw last year with Wembenyama and Scoot Henderson. Like those two were like the top two, and they didn't come from um, college. So I feel like that's also like a big theme in this 2024 NBA draft.
That's interesting. 'Cause I think the front offices view these guys from the G League and internationally have more like unlocked
Yeah,
potential. So that is interesting. So I mean, the common thing is like, who's the best player in the draft? Like, there's not an obvious name like Wembenyama
yeah.
or Zion. So who do you think's the best player in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of tough to say. I've done a lot more research over the past like couple weeks, like especially like the international guys, and I think Alex Sarr from he's from France, but he was playing in the NBL, which is the Australian League. I think he's probably like the top potential guy. I believe he played for Overtime Elite for 2 years as well, so he does have like experience playing against these like American like recruits and prospects as well. But like because of his like length, athleticism, versatility, and I don't want to compare him to Wembenyama because I think they're like slightly different players, and Wembenyama is just one of a kind. But it's definitely also a recurring theme to see these 7 foot guys. Like I think Sar's like 7'1", I think, who can
Yeah,
shoot the basketball, kind of stretch the floor. So if I had to pick one, I would say Sar for right now.
for me, I for a while I thought it was Sark. 'Cause I actually like, knew who he was because he, like you say, he played in the Overtime Elite League. But
Yeah,
doing more research this week, I think Zachary Risachet is actually the
yeah,
best
I
player
think
in the draft. Um, Sar is a great defender, great rebounder, good rim protector, but his offensive game needs a little bit of work.
yeah, uh
Risachet has so much potential. He's 6'10". He's a good 3-and-D player already, and I think if
yeah,
his length and his frame, I think he could become like a Kevin Durant. I mean, that's his like ceiling, like type player like that. He has all the measurements to be a superstar, and I think he has the highest ceiling of anyone in this draft. And
hmm
I think watching his tape, I think he has a chance to be a really good, like an elite player in the NBA. So I'm going. His name is fun to say too, Zachary
yeah,
Risachet.
yeah. It's definitely a harder one to say. But like going back to Sar, like I definitely agree with you. Like I think he only shot like 29% from three in this season, which obviously isn't like that good, but I think that's something that can be worked on. And with Richarze, however you say it, I believe he
Risachet.
was. Like, I believe he was at like 37% from three, so um, definitely like balancing like if you're comparing those two, Sarr is definitely more of the defensive guy, as you said, and Richardsey is definitely more of like the explosive offensive shooter.
So, you ready to go over our top 10 picks?
Yeah.
All right, so the Atlanta Hawks have the first overall pick. They won the lottery. So, who do you have the Hawks taking?
Let me see. So for the Hawks, it's kind of tough because they definitely aren't like the worst team in the league. Obviously, they jumped 9 spots. So I'd say they're. I think Richardsey would make more sense for the Hawks than Sar or like a lot of these other guys. So I would take him for the Hawks at one.
Yeah, I have the Hawks taking Risachet. It seems like they've been traveling. Like Landry Fields, their GM's been like going to their games. It seemed like they're going to be taking him. I,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good fit. I mean, if the Hawks want to move on, keep going with Trey Young and Murray, I mean, they do need like a player at small forward who could, you know, be good on both ends. And I think he's a really good fit to go along with Trey Young, and DeJounte Murray's a really good defender. And I like what Jalen
Yeah.
Johnson's doing, so I think it's a really good fit for them, and they can get another big time player who has a lot of potential. So, yeah, I think that's the pick for the Hawks.
Yeah.
So the
I think
Wizards
so too.
have the second pick. Who do you have? Who do you have the Wizards taking?
I think it's Sar here. If the Hawks take Richardsey, I think those are the two guys with the highest ceiling in the draft. And I feel like when you're talking about like the top picks in this draft, it's like I feel like if you ask like 8 different general managers who their top guy is, like I think there's a good chance that like it could be like 5 or 6 like different
Yeah.
guys. So at the top, I'd look for potential. Even if it's high risk, I think it's definitely worth the pick with Sar here for Washington.
Yeah, I have Sar going to Washington too. Saw a tweet today says he really wants to go to the Wizards for some reason, and I think it's a
Yeah.
good fit for them. I mean, they're pretty small down low, so they can get a guy who could be the man in the paint, and I think it's a great fit for him to be the center for the Wizards. I think that's a great step for
Yeah.
their franchise. I think that's what they actually need. So the Rockets are next. So who do you have them taking third overall?
This one is a little more tricky because they have a lot more of a foundation than like the Wizards do, for example. Like they have like Sengun at center and like a lot of like guards and wings who are like super young, like Green and Cam Whitmore and Men Thompsons. But I mean, I'm gonna take my third guy here. I think Reed Shepard is one of the best players in this class. I think he's the best college player as well. Like he's just a pest. Like he just plays really hard. He can shoot the lights out of the ball as well. And I think he's kind of like a plug and play on teams. He's a bit small. Like I think he measured at like under 6'2", so that's a concern. But I think I'm gonna stick with my big board here and say the Rockets take him at 3.
Yeah, I've the Rockets taking Reed Shepard too. I mean, the Rockets are kind of on their way. They've, Fred Van Vliet at point guard, Green, Brooks, and then behind them they have Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore. Like they have a pretty good bench. The only thing they're missing is a good 3 point shooter, and I think Reed
Yeah,
Shepard's a perfect fit off the bench. He could splash some threes. I think that's the pick for the Rockets. They need more 3 point shooting. This guy
yeah.
shot like 50%, so that's definitely the best fit for the Rockets.
hmm I think so too.
So the next pick is the San Antonio Spurs. Who do you have them taking at 4?
Okay. So I think it's a little more tricky here. So the Spurs, I think they could use like more of like a ball handler. I feel like I think they have like a lot of guys. Like obviously they have like Wem Binyama, and then like I really like Keldon Johnson as well at the wing. So I feel like Nikola Topic, I'd probably go with him here. Like he's a really good playmaker. I don't really know as much about him as the other guys, but I feel like that would like make sense from just like a pure fit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have the Spurs. I have them taking Stefan Castle. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Castle, but like you said, I think the Spurs' biggest needs a point guard, and I think he's at this point he's definitely would be the best player on the board. So I got Castle. I mean, he's a great slasher, great defender, good
Hmm.
playmaking. His offense needs a little work, but I think he's a lot of upside, and I think he would be a great addition to the Spurs backcourt. Right.
Hmm.
So who do you have the Pistons taking at five?
So at five, I was between the two G League guys. If I'm saying his name wrong, you can correct me. Is it Matas Buzelis?
Matas Buzelis, yeah.
Yeah. So Buzelis and Holland, I actually like a lot more than like a lot of these Ignite prospects that have come through over the past 6 or so years. But I'm gonna go with the guy I like more. I'm really a big fan of Ron Holland. Like I just think he's he's a very talented player. He's very good defensively as well. Like if you go back and like see his stats, watch his games, like he really plays aggressively on both ends of the floor. He gets a lot of steals and like takes it back in transition, and I think the Pistons definitely need like a wing more than like a guard or a big. So I'd go with like my personal preference of Ron Holland here.
Yeah, I went with the other G League.
Yeah.
I think the Pistons take Matas Buzelis. I think you're right. They definitely need a wing, and I think this guy could shift between the three and the four. And Buzelis has a really good offensive bag, and he could shoot pretty well. I think the
Hmm.
Pistons need wing help, and I think this is the pick because I think Buzelis has more an offensive game than Holland.
Yeah.
So next pick, sixth overall, Charlotte Hornets. Who do you have?
So I'm gonna go with Stefan Castle here. I think you said it pretty well. Like I was pretty high on him, like more like during the season. Um, I mean, I kind of forget if he had a good or bad combine. Do you remember or no?
I don't really pay attention to the combine.
Yeah, so like, I mean, I just think he's another guy who's like kind of like a plug and play guy. I feel like he can play on like almost like any team in the league, and I think he's like the best player here. He's super athletic. He's like pretty tall for his position. He's pretty like versatile as well. He can guard like multiple positions, probably one through four, or maybe even five. I think he's like 6'6", 6'7". So I'd go with Castle here at six.
Yeah, I think Castle would be a great fit for the Hornets, who kind of need more like gritty, tough guys. But I'm kind of going with an interesting pick here. I'm gonna have the Hornets taking Dalton Connect, and
Okay.
Terry Rozier left, and I think the Charlotte do need some grittier defensive players. But man, if you put a backcourt of him and Lamelo Ball, that's such an offensive good backcourt. And I think
Right.
when give when Ball gives up the ball, and I think Connect could be a great. He's a great shooter. He could score at all three levels. I think that would be a really interesting pick, and the Hornets would have such a good offensive team. So yeah, I have the Hornets
Hmm.
taking Dalton Connect. So next pick is the Trailblazers at seven.
Um, it's interesting with DeAndre Ayton here because I'm gonna go with Donovan Clingan. I think he's probably the best player, like on my top 10, like at this pick. I'm just not really sure with Ayton, like what his future is in Portland, and I think Klingon's, like as I said, probably the best player here, definitely the best center in this draft. He's he definitely can like work on a lot of things. I think he can get more like athletic. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think he'd be like even better if he lost a bit of weight and put on like a little bit more like being like more of like that athletic like new age type center, even though he's like 7'2". But like he's a monster on the glass. He gets a lot of blocks. He's a good rim protector. So I think him to the Blazers with Aiton's like cloudy future would make the most sense here.
Yeah, I think Klingon is probably like the third best prospect in the draft.
Yeah.
It's just like the teams at the top really don't need centers. So, yeah, the Trailblazers taken to Johnny Solon. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I forget what country he's from, but Portland needs wing help. They're kind of small, and this guy's like pretty tall. And people are saying he might be the best player in the draft. He's a really good shooter already, and he's a ton of potential. And I just think the Trailblazers need more size on the wing. So I think that would be a great potential pick for the Trailblazers, who could be. He's like a Swiss Army knife. So yeah, I have them taking Saloon, if that's how you say his name.
Yeah, I think he's from France. I think
That's what I
Southern France
thought.
would make
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So all right, the Spurs. They have two picks in the top 10. Who do you have the Spurs taking?
Um, I would probably okay. So I took for them. I took Topic, I believe. So
Yeah.
I would take Connect here for them. I think he's just like everything you said. I definitely agree with. I was a little lower on Connect at first, and then I definitely like through like Tennessee's last couple games, like he was just carrying them
Yeah,
the
he was
whole time.
amazing.
And like he can score at all three levels, and he can just like shoot the lights out also. And he's really underrated at the rim as well. Like he's a really good finisher at the rim. His defense can definitely be worked on. He he like hustled a lot. It's not like from like an efforts standpoint. I think it's just like he needs to be worked on the other end of the floor. So that's why I don't have him higher than this. But again, I've said it about a couple guys. I think he's kind of like a plug and play guy, and I think he can even flourish as like a catch and shoot guy in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is Klingon's landing spot at 8. I think the Spurs need some more beef down low, and I think taking Klingon, I mean, I would have him and Castle teaming up in San Antonio. That makes a potential move for Wembenyama to go to the power forward, and I just think it's a
Right.
really good fit to have that rim protection. And I mean, Klingon, I mean, he's so polished, like you said, rebounding, shot, blocking shots. But like, man, if he could ever figure out how to shoot a 3 point, this guy could be a really great NBA player. So I think this would be a really interesting pick for the Spurs. And man, I mean, if they get Castle and Klingon, they're on their way in the future. So I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
the best pick they could make at 8. All right, the Memphis Grizzlies at 9. Who do you have?
I'm gonna go with Buzelis here. Gonna again echo what you said about him. He has more of an offensive bag than Holland. Like I think they're very close. But Buzelis is more. I think he's more like unique because I think he's more of like a wing, but like he could play like a stretch four as well and kind of be like a defensive like stretch four who can like really like attack the rim offensively as well because he's like 6'10" and
Yeah.
like he's like kind of skinny as well, so like it's kind of tough to say what he's gonna be like in the league, but I think he's talented enough to go top 10 here to Memphis.
All right, this is a very interesting pick. It's a biased. It's not even biased. It's a homer pick. I have the Grizzlies taking Bub Carrington. Um,
Yeah,
People are
I like it.
confused. Like, why would you have him over Rob Dillingham? If you look at Memphis, they have John Morant, Marcus Smart, and Desmond Bain in their backcourt. They don't really have much behind them, and I think Bub would be the perfect fit for them because Marcus Smart is not the best offensive player. You could bring Bub off
Right.
the bench. He's 6'5". He's already his mid range and 3 point shot and his shot creation, his crossover at the perimeter, getting into shots. He's already pro level, and people don't talk enough about Bub's defense. He's an amazing defender. He could literally do it all. He could rebound. He could pass. I mean, this just would be a home run pick for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I just think Dillingham is a little smaller, and I think Bub is gonna be he's much. Yeah, I think he's more pro potential. So I think this would be a home run pick for the Memphis Grizzlies, getting my guy Bub.
Yeah.
So the last pick we're gonna do, and maybe we'll go into some notable picks. Utah. Who do you have the Jazz taking?
This one's a little tougher because with Laurie Markkinen, we're not sure if he's gonna be dealt or not. So if he's like dealt in the next week, they'd probably take someone like more of like a wing or a big. But I'm gonna go with Rob Dillingham here. Again, I kind of like am going off of like best player available because I think that's what teams should do. And I'm not sure how he's going to fit in Utah because I believe they still have Colin Sexton, I believe. But I mean, I think Dillingham's a great player. He's just like a spark plug that can like come off the bench for them at first, and I think he's a very talented player and he can score, but as you just said, he's a little undersized like his teammate Shepard is. So we'll see with Dillingham, but I think slotting him in the top 10 makes sense for me.
Yeah, I'll talk more about Dillingham after. Um, so I have the Jazz taking Ron Holland. I think the Jazz they have a lot of smaller, really good scoring guards. Like I think Keontae George could be good. They have Sexton, they have Clarkson. I think they need more defensive minded. And Ron Holland's, I mean, he's such a good defender. I think he'd be a perfect fit. I mean, the Jazz don't really have any like really lockdown defenders on their wing, and I think they just need help on the wing. I think Holland's a perfect fit for a gritty defensive player. I think that would be a really good pick for Utah.
Yeah,
So, do
I
you have any
agree.
like, I mean, do you have any like notable picks you want to talk about for the rest of the first round?
Um, I mean, well, like obviously being a Sixers fan, I could talk about that,
Hmm.
and I think for the Sixers, I think they should take like the best center there. We haven't had a good backup center for Embiid in a long time. Probably, I'm not even sure. Like probably since like Andre Drummond,
Yeah.
like that was like 3 or 4 years ago now. So if I was the Sixers, I would take a guy like Khalil Ware, and I was gonna talk about him and guys who are like a little like undervalued in my opinion. So I'll just do it now. As like a big Big Ten fan, I watched Ware a lot, and I think he's gonna be really good in the NBA. Like his like size, like he's like 7'1". His wingspan is huge, and like his rim protection is so good. Like he's like really good like playing like the pick and roll as well, and kind of just like cleaning up rebounds off the glass. I think he's a double digit rebound guy in the NBA, and he's a lot more athletic than what people are giving him throughout this process. I know he had a really good combine as well, so like at 16 with the Sixers, I think like Khalil Ware would make a lot of sense there.
Yeah, I have a few. Um, I have an interesting pick for the Bulls. I have them taking Tristan da Silva. I just think the
Okay.
Bulls they need a wing and they need shooting, and I mean, he's very tall. I think that would be a really good
Yeah.
fit, even though it might be a reach. But they need shooting, and I think De Silva would be a perfect fit for the Bulls. Um,
Hmm.
then I actually I have Thunder taking Dillingham at 12 if he falls that far. I mean, that would be unbelievable. The Thunder need more
Yeah.
scoring in the backcourt. You bring him off the bench to give
Hmm.
Caruso and Dort rest. I mean, he would be such a
Yeah.
good fit with Shea. And that Dillingham, if Dillingham was a little bit taller, he'd probably be the first overall pick. He's that good
Yeah.
offensively.
Hmm.
He just then some others. I mean, at
I
the Heat
agree.
taking Devin Carter who need help
Yeah, I think
in
that makes
guard.
a lot of sense there.
And
Yeah.
he does everything on both ends of the floor. He's a very competitive guy who fits so perfectly for the Heat. I have the Sixers taking Jacoby Walter. I love him. He's one of
Hmm.
my favorite players in this draft. I have the Lakers taking Jared McCain, which they just need shooting, and he would really do well in that Los Angeles media and the spotlight. I have the Magic taking Zach Edey. I think the Magic need size. Like watching them
Yeah.
against the Cavs, they're not that good at rebounding. So add Edey, someone could work with him. I think he could be a good pick,
Hmm.
and I guess I'll just take 24 and 25 for the Knicks. I have the Knicks taking Ryan Dunn. He's a CEA client. That's
That
who
makes
we usually
sense.
go with, and we just need wing help. So I like him. Then I have the Knicks taking Baylor Shireman. I just want to get guys
Yeah.
who are wings, who are taller, who can play guard, they can play forward. Shireman can shoot and rebound super well. So yeah, those are some
Yeah.
picks I want to talk about. So now let's go into like going around 2 to 3 draft sleepers. So you already went over where. Do you have anyone else people are sleeping on too much who should get
Yeah.
higher than they should be?
So I have two more. So you just brought him up. I think Jared McCain. Like he's not a sleeper, but like I've seen him be ranked like outside the top 20, which is like kind of crazy to me. Like I think he's a top 12 guy. Like I think he should go in the lottery and like like if you watched him at Duke, like he struggled his first like couple games, which obviously makes sense as a freshman, but he really got his footing down and I think his shooting is very underrated as well. Like he's just like a great just like spot up shooter. Like he can attack the rim super well. He's a very good defender as well. So I think McCain is one, and my other one is Oso Ighodaro on Marquette. I'm sure you watched a lot of him as well. He's being like ranked like I think like early second round, and I think that's probably a lot because of his age as well. I think he's like 22 now. But like he's a very talented player. I think he fits well in like the modern NBA. He's super athletic. He can run the floor well, and I think he can be kind of like not a small ball five, but I think he can play the five also in the NBA if he like gains some muscle as well. So I'd say those two are like the guys who I like more than the consensus.
Yeah, Iguodala is interesting. He's a really good toucher on the rim. Like you say, runs the floor well. He is. I agree. He is kind of a modern big man. That's interesting.
Yeah,
So I kind of touched over my sleepers. I mean, obviously I'm going Bub. I think she drafted so much higher. I think he will. His potential will be unlocked in the NBA. His game fits the NBA. How good his dribbling is into a mid range,
yeah,
into a three. His shot
I think
creation
so
is
too.
incredible. He literally does it all. Amazing defender, pretty solid playmaker. Just flat out, I think there's not many weaknesses in his game. I just think, man, someone should take him. He's 6'5", point guard, shooting guard, combo guard. Um, yeah, I'm so high on my guy. I really hope people realize he should be picked high. My next one's
Yeah,
Jacoby Walter. I mean, he's very similar to Bub, 6'5", amazing shot creator, could score from the mid range and the three. I love watching him play at Baylor. Baylor usually produces really good mid range shooters. I think he should be picked higher than. My last one's really interesting. Isaiah Collier. I mean, this guy was the number
yeah,
one player out of high school. Just USC had a really dysfunctional season. I mean, Collier's a big body point guard. He could really score, and I think someone can take him, and he could just unlock his potential in the NBA. Because I think this guy's a lot of game. I have the Suns taking him at 22. I think the Suns need a point
Yeah.
guard, and man, if this guy could explode like he was supposed to out of high school, I think that'd be a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
So now maybe 2 to 3 players that you think are just teams are going to draft too high.
Um, so I think you would agree with this. Like, I think it's kind of hard to find these guys because it's just like overall like a weak class. So I think like
Yeah.
a lot of these guys you can say are like overranked, but I just think like everyone like moves up because like there's no really like star guys. So it's kind of like hard to like discern like the overvalued players, but I have a few. I think Kyle Filipowski. I'm not really a fan of him. I'm sure you don't really like him from Duke if you're incorporating your bias there. He's like really unathletic. He's not a great defender. I think people like overrate how good his defending is. Like the one thing I'll say about him is like he's definitely a very good shooter for someone of his size, but I just don't see his ceiling in the NBA, and people have him as like top 15 mid first. So another one, I kind of hate to do it, but I think Cody Williams is like a little overrated as well. Like Cody has really good size, and I think his ceiling in the NBA is really high, but I also think he's a very high risk guy as well. Like I know he got injured a lot during the season, so like it was kind of tough to like judge because he was in and out of the lineup a ton. But like in these like big games, like in like the Pac-12 tournament games, in Colorado's, I think they only played three NCAA tournament games. Like he did not play well, and like I'm kind of concerned about that because I'm struggling to see like what he provides than being like a scoring type wing. So out of everyone, I'd say those are the two. I'm trying to find another one, but it's kind of hard to tell. I also wanted to talk about Zach Edey a bit. Like I definitely defended him against a lot of these casual fans who said he's only good because he's big. That is not true at all. If that was true, then Taco Fall would have been a two-time National Player of the Year. So I think he's a little overranked, but I really see his role in the NBA. Like if he becomes like a better version of Boban and being like a very good like backup center, I think that's for sure worth a first.
Yeah, that's interesting. You brought up Cody Williams. I was kind of thinking, like, I don't know. I don't really see it. Like, he's very
Yeah,
skinny. Like, he didn't really have that good of a freshman season. Like, I
right.
know projection's important, but we didn't really see the production from him. And I think Edie, like, I think the Knicks are gonna look at him. We kind of need a backup center because I think we're gonna trade Mitch. And man, if we can get 15 minutes out of Edie and he can start
Yeah.
moving better,
Mm-hmm.
and like, that's a great person to put on a guy like Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I just
I
thought it
think
was
so too.
interesting. I think the Knicks should look into him if they could work with him. So the 3 guys I'm thinking maybe, I think it's kind of a result of just it's not the best draft class. I just think Stephon Castle. I don't see him really as a top 5 talent. Like his offensive game, he's only good slashing. He really can't shoot. His defense, he's fast, but like I just don't think that's enough to be a top 5 pick. I also think he's getting picked high because he won a national championship at UConn. Like I don't know, I'm just not the biggest fan of him. Another one's Reed Shepard. He's a great shooter. He's really, like you said, he's very pesky, very fast, pretty good defender. But he's 6'3". Like I don't see him being much more than like a Sam Merrill type player on the Cavs. Like he's only really making like standstill 3 pointers. Like Rob Dillingham's making these crazy shots, like off the dribble, off 1 foot. Like, I like him. I don't know. I just think Shepard, like, for a third overall pick, like, I don't know. It's just scary. The last one's Nikola Topic. Like, I don't see it with this guy. Like,
Mhm.
people or give him such a high pick. Like his offense is literally awful. Like all he could really do is play make, and probably
Right.
he's a good defender too. But like his offensive game, like it needs a lot of work. I think he's another Frank Ntilikina type player. So I just don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of these
Makes sense.
attributes. Who would you say is the best scorer in the draft?
I would go with Connect here. I said it before. I just think like all three levels, like at the rim, mid range scoring, and his free throw shooting, which definitely like counts within the scoring attribute. He's just so efficient and talented scorer, so I would go with Connect.
Yeah, I connect too. He was just unbelievable to watch all season long. He would just get bucket after bucket. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen a player like a college player like have that many 30 and 40 point games
Oh.
since
Uh
like
huh.
Jimmer Fredette. Like this guy lit it
Yeah.
up, and
He was
I
insane.
think it's a tribute. It's attributable to playing in the NBA. I think Connect has an NBA game, so I
Yeah.
agree.
I
So
think
who do you
so too.
think's the best rebounder in the draft?
Probably Klingon. I think he just like swallows in rebounds, and it for sure helps being what like 7'2", 7'3". So
Yeah, I've Sar. I just think Sar's a really aggressive
yeah,
rebounder. I think that's what he's known for, his defensive rebounding. So yeah, I have Alex Sar. I, I, this guy. I mean, he's gonna be a really. I think the start of his career, he's gonna be a really good defender and rebounder and rim protector. So that's what he's known for is his rebounding. So who do you have as the best defender in the draft?
so I think this one's a little more tough because it's obviously hard to like compare like defending on the outside of like the paint and the exterior versus like rim protection. So I'd say just like as like a defender, like I think Shepard's a really good defender, but like for rim protection, I'd say Ware. I'm really high on him, and I think those are the two. But I think you could go with like so many guys here.
Yeah, I'm going with Ryan Dunn. I think he should be picked higher.
Yeah,
This guy guards 1 through 5. He's so
yeah,
fast for his size. Like
really good player.
he blocks 2 shots a game. He gets like 1 steal a game. Man, I think the Knicks. I hope they draft him because this guy is an unbelievable defender. How he could guard 1 through 5. I'm a huge fan. He's a beast. His
Hmm.
shot blocking too. How he runs back and forth. He's impressive. I don't know how he's. I think his and I mean if he can get an offensive game, man, this guy could be a really great 3-and-D player in the NBA. So I really hope the Knicks take him.
Yeah.
So this could be self-explanatory, but who are the best shooters in the draft?
Um, I put down three. I put Shepard, Connect, and then a sleeper, Jared McCain, as I talked about. I think those three guys. I might be missing someone, but yeah.
Yeah, I have Shepard and McCain also. Shepard is
Yeah.
he shot like 50% from three last year. If he
Oh,
gets his feet down,
yeah.
he's money.
It
That's
was
he was definitely one of the
insane
best
last year.
3 point shooting seasons I've seen in college. Jared
Yeah.
McCain is unbelievable at shooting. This guy, if he is in rhythm, he
Yeah.
gets his feet down, he makes it any time on the run,
Every
off the
single time.
dribble.
Yeah.
He is such a good shooter. A little small, but I mean, if you can shoot, you're gonna make the league. So I like McCain going this draft.
100%. Yeah.
So who do you think's the best playmaker in the draft?
I got Tyler Kolek for this one. He's just such a talented player offensively, and honestly, I think he should be picked higher than what people have him.
I've Kolek also. We're agreeing on a lot
Yeah,
of picks because we watch so much college
yeah,
basketball. Kolek was averaging like 10 assists in college. This guy
yeah.
is such a good passer. He's like
Especially for
eyes in the
like a,
back of his head. Like,
especially on one of the best teams in one of the best conferences as well. Like it
yeah.
was insane last year.
Kolek is one of the best college passers we've seen. Probably since like Cassius Winston. He was
Yeah.
amazing. So who do you think is the most athletic player in the draft?
I think Jacoby Walter. I think Stefan Castle's really athletic as well. I'd say those two.
Here's one of the sleepers I didn't mention. I think the most athletic player in the draft is Terrence Shannon Jr. He
Oh,
is
uh huh.
he is so
Yeah,
fast. He could jump out of the gym. Like I think that this guy, just I think he's cleared of everything. I think he should be drafted much higher. He's one of the best scorers in the
yeah,
draft. I think he's polished to play in the NBA tomorrow. But man, he is the one of the fastest players I've seen play, and he
yeah,
could dunk. I like him going to the draft.
yeah. And like with Shannon, like I know like a lot of his legal stuff got resolved, so I'm happy to see that. But I definitely agree with you. Like I think he should be picked first round, 100%, maybe even top 20. So
Yeah, I think I have the Bucks taking Shepard at 23. I think
yeah, I
they
think
need
that would make sense there. Yeah,
Malik Beasley's leaving. Get a guy at college who can play right away who could turn into a pretty good defender, feisty player. Like I think that'd be a good fit for the Bucks. They need more hard nosed players, so I like that pick for
yeah.
the Bucks. Then the last one is rim protection.
Yeah. So I guess I already went over this a little bit, but I think like Ware, Klingon, and Sar, it's kind of hard to like discern between those three, but I think those are the three right there.
Yeah, I have Klingon. He was definitely the best shot blocker in
Yeah.
college basketball. That's his claim to fame. He's so hard to score on, and that's very valuable in today's game if you could
Yeah.
protect the rim. And Klingon, I think, is the best rim protector in the draft. So it's
Makes
obviously,
sense.
maybe not one of the most exciting drafts ever. What are some of your final takes of this draft?
Yeah. So a couple of my takes are like I feel like we've said it before and you just said it. It's obviously a rather weak class. I think there's some depth to it though. It's just like not at the top. Like, so I think that's a take. On a more positive note, like I really like the centers in this draft. I'm not huge on Filipowski, as I said, but I think like Klingon, Ware, and like Zach Edey, Valsalike, and like Yevis Misi from Baylor, who we didn't even talk
Yeah,
about. Like he's
good.
definitely more of like a modern day center. Like he's super athletic. Like has really good touch around the rim. So I really like the centers, and I just think there's just so many like high upside, high risk guys in this draft. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you
that's
touched on a
awesome.
lot of good points. I think, like I said, kind of starting out, I think wings are super important in the NBA. So I think
Yeah,
a lot of these teams are going to try to find that good wing defense who are versatile, and just I think these teams are trying to add a lot of good defense. I think in this draft, I think you might rather be like lower in the draft than have a high picks. I think there's a lot. This draft is pretty deep, and I think you could
yeah,
pick a really good guy at the end of the draft. I really hope a team takes a chance on Blake Hinson. I mean, he's the best shooter in the country. He's 6'8". 6'7", 6'8". I really hope someone takes a chance on my guy B2. I think he deserves it, and I'm excited to see what the Knicks do. I think it's gonna be a fun draft. I think a lot like there's so much uncertainty. What I was trying to say, so I think I'm
yeah,
really excited to see what teams are trying to do in this draft and how they want to get better in the future.
yeah. So one question I have. So I believe they changed it, so it's now a 2 day event. So what are your opinions on that?
That's a great point. I think the draft is now on a Wednesday night, and the second round's at like Thursday at 4 o'clock. I like it. I mean, I think it's better for the NBA because I mean no one really cares about the
Yeah,
second round, and it ends at like midnight. So I think there's more of a chance that people are
yeah,
going to watch it on a Thursday afternoon, the second round. So I think it's a great idea for it's a rare Adam Silver W. So I think it's a good idea.
yeah. Like, I'd say for the league, it makes sense because obviously they're like generating more television revenue through that. I think it's like, it definitely wasn't necessary, but I mean, like, I'm not gonna like split a hair over this. Like, I just wanted to like get your opinion because it's like something that hasn't been done in probably a very long time. So,
I've always thought about it. I think it's a really good. I think it is a good idea because I mean, when the second round comes on, I usually don't even watch it, but I'm probably gonna
yeah.
watch it now because like, why not? It's Thursday afternoon, it's sports. So I think it's a good
Right.
idea.
Yep.
So Justin, thank you so much for coming on. Like, I think we're gonna do a lot more college basketball podcasts and stuff. This guy knows ball, so I'm really looking forward to talking more with you, man. So thanks so much for coming on.
Yep. And for sure, a big thank you. Um, Follow Sports Talk with Dewey on Instagram, Twitter, and every single platform, especially this podcast as well.
Yep. Well, thank you, and I can't wait for the NBA draft.